know it's a Wall Pass Wednesday when you sit there. You're late putting up banners, and then you're late taking banners down because you sit there and you get wrapped up into the music and everything. Oh, and here's your early sign that it is in fact a Wall Pass Wednesday. All right, so John here, Jarrett there. I put on my my sweat zip jacket this morning, and I just noticed, Jarrett, by the way, as I look up my right sleeve, this is not a magic trick that happened. I was wondering what the hell was going on my right sleeve. It's a bounce sheet.
I honestly thought it would be a Mountain Dew.
Well, I mean, that'd be liquid and messy, but yeah. So there was a bounce dryer sheet shoved up my right sleeve that I didn't know that it was there until I put my arm through it.
Well,
And
now you know.
Yeah, now I do. And now I wish we had the NBC music to sit there and figure it out. But yeah, static block, FC. No doubt. So John here, Jarrett there, and we'll get into we'll get into other stuff, and we'll go for as long as we can this morning. But you look at what's going on, and it is the season. We know this, and it's time for the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code right there in the middle of stuff. And once again, Kickoff Coffee, it is use the code Soccer Down Here 15, and you get 15% off your Kickoff Coffee, and they in turn take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Kickoffcoffeeco.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on the Twitters, on the FaceSpace, and on the Instagram. So here's your question this morning. Obviously we're not doing live stuff the next 2 days because I have to wear makeup and a suit, and we're doing the high school football championships, and you can catch that on gpb.org and the GPB Sports app. Here's my question for you. Usually for me during football season, I get to the point to where we are in this particular part of the schedule. And yesterday, I printed off about an inch worth of material outside of scripts and rundowns for just trying to stay as up to date and current with my information as possible. It's like rosters and notes and stuff. When this weekend is over, really is when the busy season kicks in. And this is about as a Wall Pass Wednesday question as you could get. Where are you on your Christmas shopping? The reason I ask this, yes, Garrett?
Oh, basically, I'm almost done. I think we have 2 things left. We're done.
Yeah. I, however, am not. I am nowhere close. And traditionally, the way that this works is everything rolls its way through. Football season finishes, but it really doesn't finish, because after football season's over, you've got National Signing Day coming up. And now what they've done this year is they've pushed National Signing Day a week further down because the portal window has opened up. So literally it is now, it is football season's over, portal window opens, and then National Signing Day. Literally National Signing Day is days before Christmas this year. I don't know if it's going to be a thing or not.
Well, I think it was Bud Elliott from 24/7 Sports I saw, who did a good ELI 5 about why everything is so wild, and a lot of it having to do with so many of these kids who are really starting to hit their stride in college athletics. Signed their letters during COVID, basically. So they either had a partial or no senior season, and then basically signed to play and ended up in very mismatched environments, not just for football, but for basketball, for soccer, places where they were either overmatched or undermatched. And so now those guys are starting to get more run, and you're starting to see oh, this is a bad fit. I need to move, and taking advantage of the opportunity to do so, because again, we really didn't have a season for some of these people. You lost your you have an entire group that basically lost their senior year.
Yeah. Yeah. And so because the season really doesn't end, and the way that I always refer to National Signing Day is it's like the Alec Baldwin scene in Glengarry Glen Ross when he comes storming in.
Always be closing.
A always B closing, always be closing. That to me is signing day. That is getting to National Signing Day. That is always the ABCs of it. But because of this, and because of high school football season being after the SEC, and we're going right up against Army and Navy, I just wanted to know where folks are when it comes to their holiday shopping. Where are you? Are you done? Have you started? Because I know, unlike Sean, who says he's done, he just does gift cards, sorry, not sorry, that you end up with, literally, it's like once this week is over, like Tuesday, it's like, holy bleep, I've got to do my Christmas shopping. And me and Jeff Bezos, we're going to be real good friends starting next week. Guarantee you that. So that was what I wanted to ask this morning. Is that, I mean, I will also stipulate that if there is a gift that I see in March that I think will apply, then I'll go ahead and grab it because you're buying off season. It's usually on a sale price and discount, so you're usually pretty solid in that regard. But yeah, my Festivus shopping, it's always cramped this time of year. It's like you're rushing around to get things done, and it's like, did I remember this person? Did I remember this person? Tuesday, I'm probably going to start my list and sit there and go, okay, I need this person, this person, this person, this person, and this person. So that was why I wanted to ask that this morning to everyone here. Where are you with your shopping? And Sean is just a gift card. Just does gift cards.
I mean, hey, it's like cash. It's always the right color, always the right size. Never have to worry.
Correct. Yeah, and so I mean, I Sean, trust me, I get it, especially if it's golf gift cards because that thing gets used up in a hurry. But yeah, so that was the opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, you go to your social media channels, you do all that kind of stuff. You go to Kickoff Coffee, and if you use the code soccer down here 15% off your purchase, and they in turn take 10% off and run it into the youth game. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Morning, DJ. We're wondering where you were with your holiday shopping because I'm nowhere close to starting because of football season still going on. And once again, reminder, we'll have tape stuff on Thursday and Friday. No live morning show because I'm doing stuff down at Georgia State Stadium in Center Park with the high school football championships. Obviously, things will be back to normal on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we'll have all that stuff down the line on Sunday. So tape stuff on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, back to normal Sunday, and then really back to normal on Monday with a live show. So just wanted to ask where you were because it's something that I'm always stuck with this time of year, and it's the sprint to the finish for me. So Kefsey, as a part of everything, Kefsey says we've apportioned funds to self-gifts. If someone else is expecting something, they need to make it known. Okay. And also service fees. Okay. I get that. Rack, holiday shopping will come when work PTO starts. Fam will get whatever's left on the shelves. Sorry, not sorry. Rack, I'm right there with you, brother. Sean, a good gift idea, an air fryer. Remember who you're talking to here.
Yeah, man. If you can get John an air fryer, please call the fire marshal ahead of time. Let him know what is happening. Let him be on standby.
Yes, absolutely. And Tom is in. He says, very little to do, just my mostly grown kids, better half, and I really don't do gifts. We just buy ish for the house. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Because, yeah, we, as anal retentive as I am about doing laundry now, I have really just overworked the washer and the dryer, and I think that's probably going to end up being a purchase sometime soon, but that's just me. All right, so yesterday in the competition that's going on overseas, we had two matches, And we now know who the round of 8 is going to be. It's going to be on the 9th and the 10th. So it's Friday, Saturday, I believe, if my math is correct. So if today is 7, Friday, Saturday. Friday, Saturday doubleheaders, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Croatia, Brazil, Netherlands, Argentina on Friday, Morocco, Portugal, England, and France on Saturday. So yesterday, let's take it a match at a time. Morocco and Spain. Morocco came into the match at a plus 514 in the composite. They left advancing to the round of 8. And Jarrett, when you look at what Morocco did yesterday, it was picture perfect, and I'm not even getting to the penalties yet. But Morocco came in with a game plan, and Spain couldn't find a way to puncture it at all.
No, they couldn't. Morocco said we are going to do the defending work. We're going to defend deep. We're going to make you miserable. We're going to try and hit out on a couple counters, maybe. But we are going to make you miserable. And we had questions. There were questions before this tournament about hey, for Spain, who's going to score the goals? They dropped a very big number on Costa Rica in game 1, and everyone kind of forgot about that. Then I kind of all came back with no, but really, who's going to score the goals consistently for this team? But that didn't really matter. And the reason it didn't matter is because Morocco never really gave them a sighted goal. I say that saying that I think by the end of that game, Morocco was so gassed that if there had been 5 more minutes, I think Spain may have broken through. They were really starting to find more and more space. Morocco just wasn't able to stay in front of them. And I think it was starting to go their way, Spain's way. Mm-hmm. However, they ran out of time, and then Spain, you're basically the New England. Sorry, England, you don't get to be England anymore when it comes to penalties. Because man, look, last 3 tournaments, Spain has been undone by penalties, right?
Yes.
This one, man, that first penalty goes off the post. He tries to pick out that far corner. It's almost perfectly placed into an impossible spot. But Spain, it was like the Stone Cold Steve Austin glass break sound effect.
Yes.
That's kind of what happened with their brains. Once that didn't go in, and Morocco had scored their first, that's an entirely different conversation about how you feel psychologically about, hey, do you want the first kick or do you want the second kick if you're in penalties? Because Morocco's able to put the pressure on early, and once Spain, even if it was a miss, it wasn't even saved, but even though it was a miss, they seemed to collapse under it. And then the next 2 guys they didn't look confident. I know we're getting into a penalty kicking body language down here.
Yes.
But damn, man, it was bad.
They wanted nothing to do with it.
It was in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And they had done, and they talked about the coach had told them, kick 1,000 penalties, so it becomes automatic for you. But it's still guys have talked. I think Landon Donovan talked about it on the broadcast. It's so hard to replicate that pressure.
Yeah.
This is the same Landon Donovan who I believe kicked that penalty against Ghana in 2010. In the knockout round, the U.S. lost.
Yeah.
The man knows something about pressure penalties, and we talked about it. Guys and girls have talked about it for years. You can't really replicate those moments. And full credit. Go ahead.
Now, just Bono came into the tournament saving about 1/3 of all of the penalties he faced.
Yeah,
that's your Moroccan keeper and his efficiency rate.
It was so crippling to watch them mentally.
Yeah.
Watch Spain mentally in those moments, but on the other hand, you got to give credit to Morocco because they executed their plan. They got at the penalties, and they took their penalties and they took them aggressively. And I know people talk about all the time, pick a spot, hit it hard. Well, they did, but they picked good spots. They picked really tough angles to save, um, aside from one, and they hit them hard and they put them away. This game though is going to be interesting in the way that people dissect it. I think going forward because there is this conversation of, wow, Morocco was really good defensively. Oh man, I can't believe Spain didn't break through. But we have this all the time when somebody dominates possession and doesn't rack up goals. Of at a certain point, you do have to give credit to the defensive team for executing their game plan because
Mm-hmm.
it's really, and you saw it like in extra time in the 118th minute or so. You saw Morocco, the cracks were starting to form and they were starting to get bigger and bigger. Um, they were really starting to struggle with keeping their shape, with stepping, with doing all of the things to cut off service to guys like Busquets, who was starting to get more and more time on the ball. You you have to give credit to the defensive team
Mm-hmm.
for doing their job, and that's what they did in this instance. Like they were able to basically just uh, put Spain into a situation where Spain's like trying to work the ball around. You're trying to find the opening, and it just never existed.
Yep.
Like, and by the time it existed, you got a couple shots away. You hit the post with, I think, your last open play shot going really tight angle, but you weren't able. But like I said, I think if you had 5 more minutes, Spain finds their breakthrough. But they didn't have 5 more minutes, and it was just perfectly executed by Morocco. You get a little luck when it catches the post, which you need luck to survive these sorts of things in any tournament situation. But damn, like it's for Spain, it's got to be mentally crippling after
Yes.
third straight time. Like they're good, like that's a good team, but they cannot seem to get it. Now I think they are going to be so far in their own heads.
Yep.
It sucks for them because it's a really talented team.
Yeah. Even with who they had on the bench. So, Jarrett, Kefsi's blaming you for the jinx on the show about the worst PKs by Japan. So who was worse? Who was worse in their PKs, Japan or Spain?
Japan. I think Japan was worse. They looked. I can't. I think I said this on Twitter when I was going on. I was like, it kind of seems like Japan is both like I couldn't decide if they were tired or nervous or both or somewhere
Yeah.
along those lines, or they weren't able to lock in mentally because they weren't able to lock in mentally. Like Japan looked so blah taking their penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like they weren't able to get to where they needed to be. Maybe you're mentally fatigued because you've played 120 minutes, and Japan really was pushing hard and weren't able to get it done. And then you get the penalties, and you're just not used to that moment, and then you freak out and you just start overthinking it. Japan penalties were so bad. It was almost like they were caught between three ideas and went, "I'll just roll the ball into this corner." Damn,
Yeah.
that guy's there.
Oops.
He's not supposed to be there.
No. Darn it.
Yeah,
That was not the
I
plan.
I think Japan's were worse.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
All right.
But
Yeah.
this is also a case of gentlemen, please, you're all terrible.
Yes.
Um, because everybody's Spain's weren't great,
We
but
we
I think
we
Spain.
love all of our children's poor PKs here.
But I think Spain is so emotionally broken that that's the explainer for them. That's my
Mm-hmm.
justification for them.
Yes.
They're just emotionally broken.
Yes, different scenarios. Physically broken for Japan, and just emotionally and just mentally broken for Spain. All right, so
Yeah.
Morocco for sure played a perfect defensive match, and yeah, Bono will never buy anything again. It's
Nope.
Morocco, a place so he'll get a house and be set up. Kefsi blanked. Nunca a penals para España.
Yeah. We also have to talk about the fact that the man Panenka
Yeah,
Spain with the final kick,
Ashraf
who
Hakimi.
who was born in Spain,
Yeah,
who wanted to play for Spain's national team,
uh-huh.
and then had to switch to playing for Morocco's national team, um, and then proceeded to hit a Panenka to put Spain to bed. Which, as I said yesterday, if you hit a Panenka to eliminate a country
Woo.
from the World Cup, you should be allowed to rename their capital city whatever you want. This already is a contentious situation when you think about the territories claims between Morocco and Spain. There are
Yes.
geopolitical consequences to this sort of discussion anyway. But my God, if you
Man.
hit a Panenka and you eliminate a country with said Panenka, you should be allowed to rename their capital city.
Yes. So Spain is there's going to be Hakimiville in there somewhere.
Uh,
Yeah, it's like, look, they can stare at each other across the Gulf of the Med. That's what we're staring at here with Morocco and Spain. They can look at each other on a daily basis if it's clear enough.
yeah. Um, so I am very entertained by what just happened. But it's the other thing is if y'all haven't seen it, I shared it last night. Amrabat for uh, for Morocco
Mm-hmm.
midfielder.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, that little psychopath was amazing. That man ran around the midfield like if he stopped running, he was going to get electrocuted.
Yes.
Um, it did have a little more pace on it, DJ. It did. It was still Panenka to me. There are degrees of Panenka. It wasn't a full like floating chip from hell, but it was still he ran up, slowed his pace down, and got underneath it. It's still Panenka to me.
Yes. Yeah. There was some dink involved. Yes. There was some absolute dink.
Yeah, he took enough. He took enough off of it for you to call it a Panenka. Put his foot under it, and then just kind of, I think he got a little more than he maybe wanted to.
Yeah.
um, Spanish goalkeeper just decided, I'm just gonna make this dive to damn.
Uh-huh.
It's that point he knew he had screwed up.
Yes.
But yeah, I shared the clip last night of Amrabat, who uh, played outside of his mind in
Yes.
that game. Um, he was cramping up allegedly in between the extra time periods, probably before extra time, but he was absolutely everywhere. Um, so Fiorentina's own
Mm-hmm.
can be very proud of that one. That was, I think he's 25, 26. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much you would see. Because we're so used to like attacking players getting the big boost in their values. But man, that's a holding midfielder who might get a boosted value. Fiorentina might make a little bit of money off that one before it's all said and done.
Yep. SofaScore gave Sofian Amrabat a 7.2. 120 minutes played, and if did I read correctly that he had to get an injection at 3:00 in the morning?
Yes, he did.
Just
he had to get an injection just to play.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, you read that correctly.
120 minutes, 50 touches, 25 of 32 in his passing at 78%. Had one long ball on the day. 7 for 7 on ground duels. Missed his only one in the air. 3 times he was fouled, a clearance, a pick, and 4 tackles for Sofian Amrabat. 7 for 7 in ground duels yesterday.
He was very, very good. I don't know how else to explain that. I thought the highlight clips that I posted did a pretty good job at that explanation. But he was very, 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 very good.
Just to let you know about the rest of the midfield, Unahi, the gentleman off to his right in formation. Unahi had a 7.5, 60 touches, 32 of 42 passing at 76%. And so we mentioned that Amrabat was 7 for 7 on ground duels. Unahi was 7 for 10 in ground duels.
They were just so good at it. Like, anytime it was like, anytime it wasn't a perfectly clean ball from Spain or anytime it was a 50-50 ball, they were just winning them. And we talk about that, like, you got to win those 50-50 balls. Especially if you're going to play that defensive style like that, you've got to win them. And they did. And it was really impressive to watch. I don't know how they are all like standing today. I would assume most of them are like laying down with like compression wraps on their legs.
Yes, with the leg sleeves,
Yeah.
with the regen stuff going on. Mazraoui 4 for 5 on ground duels, 14 of 17 passing on 39 touches, and I know I'm also at the back. Romain Saiz played 120 minutes. He was 73% passing, 53 touches, 3 of 9 on long balls on the day. And this, like I said, I'm going to the back of what we're staring at here. Hakimi, 120 minutes, 2 clearances, a block, a pick, 4 tackles, 3 dribbles passed, 6 ground duels won out of 13 opportunities. 74% passing on 73 touches, 1 cross, 3 long balls on the day. So, yeah, I mean, this is what you're looking at here with this group. Ridiculousness when it comes to anything on the ground. Buffal on the day, 12 of 15 on his ground duels. You've got to be kidding me with these numbers.
You have to win those 50-50 balls to play that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of guys who are playing like actual maniacs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they did. They played like lunatics out there in a great way. They were getting the job done. It was insanely impressive. Like I said, you have to win those 50-50 balls. Because if they start falling to Spain, then you start getting situations where, okay, maybe you're starting to sneak out of formation a bit and thinking, okay, we can counter up. Damn, we didn't win that 50-50 ball. Now we have to scramble back. But you've got to consistently win those 50-50 balls. And they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they played a damn near perfect game to do it.
Yep.
The only thing they didn't do was snatch a goal in the first 90 minutes. That's the only thing they didn't do.
Yep.
Otherwise, they put Spain in hell.
Yes. And David, in our discussion about the Panenka, David says, anytime you turn to see your team celebrate before it crosses the line, it counts as a Panenka.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful.
And going down the middle, and Rack makes this point, going down the middle is still ballsy because I know that most folks are predisposed to going one direction or another. But, what are you thinking? It's like, okay, I know that the keeper's going to lean in one direction. So what's the keeper going to do? Keeper's going to go one way or the other. I'm just going to go right down the middle because if he lunges one way, he ain't getting back in time.
Yeah,
yeah,
they have to all be just physically spent. Luis Enrique gave his penalty takers 100,000 penalties take over the last year. Either they didn't do it or they were emotionally crippled by the entire procedure, which either one is completely possible. Like we talked about, though, like Landon Donovan talked about, it's hard to replicate those moments of pressure. It's easy for us to go out to our local park and say we're just going to take some penalties, or just with friends in a pickup game. It's different when it's the arguably the most important penalties of your life so far.
Mm-hmm.
Because I say so far because I think again, this Spain team is very good. They will be in other tournaments. They will be advancing out of group stages in other tournaments, I believe.
Just take care of it in regulation.
I mean, that's kind of where they're at right now. And I think if you're playing Spain, you have to be in that mindset of like, hey, what do we need to do? We just need to get to penalties. Like, if we're past 120 minutes, Spain's feeling really good about themselves. Let's just get to penalties because they are emotionally crippled, and all we have to do is get them to miss one.
Yep.
And they collapse like a house of cards.
Absolutely.
But they're gonna have to figure that they have to find a way to get over that, and whether if that is like getting a sports psychologist in there for the whole team, then
get Jack Llewellyn in there.
Whatever it takes, you have to figure out a way to get past it.
Shooter, we will be getting to the second match coming up in just a little bit. Because there's plenty to talk about there as well on the other side of offense. And so we got Tom who wants to discuss CR37. Let's see. Trying to figure out where we are in the rack. 100% eventually they would break, but they didn't. Yeah, give them 100%. Give them credit. Honestly, the best chances of the game were with Morocco.
They just, like I said, they sat there in their shape. They moved like a unit. They moved like almost like Where's Nick around to discuss the differences in Catenaccio and all this stuff? But
There you go.
I mean, but they moved like a unit, and they were always in the right place, and then were just able to consistently be where they needed to be, win those duels, win those 50-50 balls, and break at times.
Yeah.
And then kind of scare France. Or,
And you had a coach,
France, Spain.
and you had a coach.
France might be next.
Yeah, but
because we need more geopolitical arguments.
Yes, I mean, and you had a coach who'd only been there for less than 3 months. Leading
Yeah,
into
their last coach got fired because the USA dropped a 3-0 shell on them.
Yeah, and
so really, this is the United States' fault. Yeah, we get a transitive win over Spain, so that's fun.
There you go. Kefsi with TV network carriers down here.
Yes.
Telemundo on the mobile dropped off.
Oh, did they go Heidi?
I get.
Or did they just drop?
See now, okay. So Kefsi, did they just drop, or did they go to the Dos Mujeres Un Camino or El Rojo Vivo? What did they do? Did they go to the next program, or did it just drop?
I just dropped the signal. That's not a Heidi moment. If it happens, it's still tragic.
Yeah, that's just not good. But yeah, I still, by the way, watched on that network. I did not watch on the American carrier. I've been locked into Telemundo because when Andres Cantor is calling a match, yeah,
because Fox's coverage has been bad.
Yes,
like that's all the reason you need in the world.
Yes.
Fox's coverage has been basura.
It has. And I have not been interested in it whatsoever. And I've been watching Telemundo because when I can get Andres Cantor calling the mega game, I'm going to watch Andres Cantor calling the mega game.
Yes. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some groups you've had calling on Fox. Like, I love hearing Derek Ray call any game.
Yes,
Derek Ray's great.
Absolutely.
But like from their studio show to like the just like sucking up to Qatar, everything, like the way even okay, so let's for example, post USA Netherlands, we were all sad. That's true. You had basically a 2-hour window before the next game.
Yep.
They spent the first hour going over that game.
Yep.
Which is fine. Then you have another hour where you can transition your discussion into, hey, we also have, who was it that day? Was it England and Senegal?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
So you had England and Senegal after that. And use that second hour for England and Senegal. Instead, they just kind of rehashed the U.S. game again, but there's nothing new to add.
Yep.
There's nothing that had come out. You're just rehashing the same talking points because you can.
Yes.
You've got an opportunity to move to if something new comes out, sure, absolutely do it. But don't just rehash the same talking points that I can TiVo back an hour and just basically watch the same exact show. Come the hell on, guys.
So, Nick, Jarrett had a couple of thoughts that he wanted to pass your way, but
hey, Nick.
But since we're on TV coverage down here for the moment, what has been your viewing habits of the World Tournament so far?
Telemundo only. I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to watch the Carnival Barker go full Vince McMahon.
Argentina, Australia. I was wrong. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate y'all.
I'm not doing that because the thing is, look, I've met Alexi Lalas more than a few times in Milan versus Club America. I interviewed him. It was right after he got let go from I want to say from the Galaxy GM job, and I walked up to him and I said, Alexi, would you be open to doing an interview that did not involve the subject of David Beckham? And he laughed and said, you're the first one today to say that, so absolutely. He was kind enough to give me some time to do an interview there, probably more time than he had officially. And then a couple of other times I met him, and he has been the most polite, kind person. And those one-on-one settings that you can imagine, but when the camera goes on and the lights hit, he becomes Vince McMahon. And he knows it. and he plays that character up, and he's beloved. Like in Padova, in Italy, where I have some cousins. We walk around town, and you ask the locals, and they say, "Oh yeah, Alexi Lawless, yeah, he's wonderful. Played guitar in the square. He played for everyone." And the thing is that he is a character,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows his audience abundantly well. And the challenge that I have is that he is that what we need now in this phase of American fandom right now. We have shows over in Spain, El Chiringuito, that is like absolutely
Yeah.
WWE.
Yeah.
So it's not in Seven Gold in Italy.
Yeah, we don't have an El Chiringuito in America. We don't have anything close to that.
No, we
Like,
don't. We probably should, but
yeah.
but you have Seven Gold, where you have Crudeli, who's the old guy who does the the Milan rants every time they score. He's like, ah! He runs around the studio. That's
Yes.
fine, but at this point, you have to know with real life events when to turn the character on and when to turn the character off. And I think he hasn't figured out when to turn the character off during live broadcast yet.
Yeah.
And that's my beef. So and the on-air product is abysmal for Fox. It really does. And I posted a tweet about this where it's the gift from Chernobyl, like where they say like, we are going to shut down communications, and everybody like starts pounding the table and like, yeah. To me, that looks like the pre-production meeting for Fox, where they were like, hey, what are the permutations of someone going through to like, we'll wing it on the air, baby. Yeah, let's go. And they're completely unprepared. They just go out and they just fire information off, and it's a mess. And it could be so much better. And I think the American audience deserves a better product than what Fox is giving them right now.
Yeah, and Cassie, Alexi plays a character on Fox. He said it himself. And Tom, I don't mind Lawless. I'm in the minority, apparently. And Shooter, Lawless is a poor man's Bill Walton.
And Nick's point makes sense, because I like the Vince McMahon comparison, because I think you would find that most like wrestling heels, if you met them, were probably the nicest people in the world.
Oh yeah,
because they understand the role that's there.
Yeah, but then when the camera goes on, they turn into the heel. Like it's kind of how it goes, man.
See, in the late '90s, early 2000s, I have no problem in saying that I am still a big pro wrestling nerd.
As am I.
But I
We
went
all are.
to Nitro.
We literally set up. We literally have a thread every time there's a Sunday night
Yes.
pay-per-view.
Yes, there is. And so Nitro comes to town, and the NWO walks in, and this is like outside, right? They get out of the limos, they get out and they come walking in, and they're already in character, right?
Absolutely.
And so not too long after is when Raw first debuted at the Georgia Dome, right? It was like sort of a moon landing moment. And so we get there way early. And The Rock comes through. Now The Rock is like, he is generating nuclear heat at this point, right? But he came through and was like shaking hands with everybody. He was like, getting flowers and, giving hugs to fans, completely out of character. And then he goes, the moment he's in the ring, gets the microphone. He is The Rock.
Come
not Dwayne.
on, Rock.
Yeah, I did it for The Rock, and so that's what you have to look at with some of these guys. But the problem still is you can have all that. You can have the carnival barkers, you can have the hot take artists, you can have the stick in the muds, but nothing excuses the poor pre-production that Fox has been kicking out time and time and time again. And I know this from experience because I've done it way too many times, and it's the reason I am where I am in my professional media career. And that is, if you do enough poor pre-pro, it shows up in the on-air product.
Yep.
And you can't escape it. It's like the old line from Avengers, dread it, run from it, destiny still arrives. And poor pre-production will lead to poor production every damn time. Yeah. And Fox has to get better about that. The next time they dump $11 billion to get whatever global soccer product they feel like getting their hands on. Telemundo, though, has been absolute pure gold. They've had excellent co-host with them, big names, and as always, the on-air product is immaculate.
Except for apparently PK's yesterday, where Kevsey says the app showed the Watch Now button for the games during PKs, but it would fail to open the video proper every time, even after a restart. Bummer because the Ventura has been great.
Well, see, some of this also is the fact that
Probably
Fox's app is very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to also factor that in.
Yeah, well, and my guess is that Kefsey, when you were trying to load Telemundo yesterday, because everybody found out it was going to PKs, that it probably overloaded the system on the mobile aspect. So people who wanted to watch on Telemundo couldn't, because everybody wanted to watch on Telemundo. It was like trying to order tickets to a concert through Ticketmaster in the old days. It's like you keep
old days. Have you not been Have you not been paying attention to the Taylor Swift thing? What do you mean the old days?
Oh, I was talking
2022, amigo.
Dialing it up on the phone when you have to keep hitting the redial button and you're trying, because he mentions phone, and so for me,
the entire Taylor Swift fan base is about to basically lead a revolution.
Yeah. Well, Pearl Jam was right after all, weren't they?
The phone thing does make sense. Does track though, because I do remember sitting there with friends on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. trying to get Tool tickets in 2005.
No, I remember going to Publix. You had to go to Publix and wait in line whenever whenever you wanted your concert tickets.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, way back machine.
Yeah, Rack says MIB said that Lawless is probably a Qatari sleeper agent by now.
Well, I have issues with Men in Blazers as well. I mean, Men in Blazers, they claim to be promoting the American product. They claim to love the American product, and then they show up wearing full denim outfits. Oh, we're going to be drinking Budweiser today. Yes, the Budweiser, the American beer. Aren't we fun? I need the next Men in Blazers show. I want to get the microphone, and I want to be like the old guys in the Muppet Show. I want to be Statler and Waldorf.
Statler and Waldorf sitting up in the balcony.
Yeah, but that was different. Did you like it? No.
They were at the They were at the Tabernacle. We've all been. We have all at some point in our lives been to a show at the Tabernacle where we ended up in the balcony.
I need to be that. Yeah. But I mean, it's just American soccer media needs to grow tremendously. We need to have, and for all of the characters that we have, we need more straightforward soccer content, because it's very easy to get into the talk sport world and live there and never leave.
Yeah.
And I think we deserve a better product.
I mean,
but yes, we do need some characters.
Yeah.
For sure.
When talk sport and you have angry middle-aged white guys discussing the dancing by the Brazilian side.
Yes.
And Roy Keane is angry middle-aged white guy. Is he saw more dancing or better dancing or whatever it was on Strictly. That's when I turned that kind of material off.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't care, and all you're doing is yelling into the breeze about stupid stuff, and I'm not interested in that.
Right. Yeah.
Give me detail. I want to know about the matches. I want to know about what your experts think about that kind of stuff. If you're going to yell into the breeze about the match, that's fine. But if you're going to yell into the void as an angry individual about stupid stuff, I'm changing the channel. I don't care.
Well, the thing is, if you're an expert, like if you're Keane, right? Who I don't think any of us can besmirch his ability as a player, right? But get into the esoteric if you're the expert. Sit there and talk about, if there's a legendary strike, talk about something stupid like foot placement, Mm-hmm. And that's the only way we get better and more educated as fans. Like I remember when I'm trying to remember who the former player was, but he started explaining what the jack linebacker was. And it was the first time that I can remember anybody talking about what the jack linebacker was. And he started getting into the terminology, like the in locker room terminology on some of these players. And we're all the time before it had been, it's just that's your middle linebacker right there. He's going to do this. No. Explain stuff to me. Break it down. Give me the footwork. Give me the positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Give me all the things that are going through like the center back's mind at
Yep.
that moment. That's this. Get into the esoteric, and then have your carnival barker there, and run it like a wrestling show where you have the straight laced guy and the foil. That's fine, but I just think that if we keep everything at a base level, this base
No one
entry
learns.
point, no one's going to learn anything, and so it's going to make for a smarter fan base in general of the sport if you have some people who really get into the minutia, somebody who really gets into the esoteric and allows us to sort of lets the nerds have their time instead of having to go fish 15 different sources on YouTube. Though maybe I'm on an island on that one. I don't know, but I believe it's the island of relevancy. So
I don't think that you're on an island. I would hope that as the game continues to grow, folks want to learn more about the game. And they want to have those kinds of forums available to them where they can learn about the jack linebacker. They can learn about the bandit. They can learn about, a gap and for the bubble on a 4th and 1 or something like that. And
Right.
having that kind of coverage where you're bringing the game forward and everyone's learning along for the ride instead of sitting there and yelling about damn, strictly ballroom. I don't care. I don't care. It's a pithy one-liner, and you're not learning.
Yeah, one of the best times I ever had watching a UFC fight, and I'm someone I've done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, Hapkido, Taekwondo, all this stuff, right? And I thought I was pretty well learned in that world. I sat down with and watched UFC with someone who has done MMA, who is a black belt, who runs his own jiu-jitsu school. And we watched the fights, and he would sit there and just talk about the grip. Mm-hmm. He'd be like, all right, yeah, with this grip right here, in a gi grip, you would be going like this particular hand movement, and with no gi, you're going to do this, and you're executing. And he's got to start setting up and presenting this so he could really get to this. And it's the same thing with my grandfather, who was an unbelievable boxer, right? He's like 138, 5-1 as a fighter. I mean, he was incredible. And we would watch Friday night fights, and he would talk about foot movement. And I would, as early on, I'd be like, okay, well, show me the jab, show me the hook, and instead, he's like, no, look at the foot movement here. Look at how he's setting up. He's doing this, he's doing that. He's getting tired. The world just opened up. And yes, Kefsey, the Manning cast is exactly that. I'm trying to think of who.
Nix.
Sorry, Jason Nix. Sorry, with the Manning.
The Manning cast is perfection.
It is, and even my wife says this is the only way I'm going to watch Monday Night Football.
Right there with her,
because it's entertaining. I'm learning something in the process, and because Peyton and Eli are such nerds that they're going to sit there and going to break down the 3-inch difference between an out seam and an in seam and how that all works. And I
also watch it to see Peyton get put in hell every week when somebody does something wrong, or when some team does something just awful, and you see him like Peyton sitting there with his head in his hands, and you just see him visibly being put into the 8th circle of hell, and Eli sitting over there like Delmar and oh brother, where art thou? Like, well, gee, Peyton, that doesn't seem like a great decision they're doing, man.
No, Eli always looks like someone stole his favorite red fire truck. I mean, that he always has that look.
But Peyton's over there looking like he's about to eat the chair he is sitting in.
He is. He does. And to Shooter's point, I think that's why they have the grab ass on the Manning cast, because if they're especially season 1, Peyton almost lost like his composure 6 or 7 times, dropping the F-bomb when the quarterback is looking. Went through first read, second read, got back to third read, then had to go back to second, and would just get annihilated. And you could see it's like the meme with like the Chihuahua with the eyes bugging out and like the Hueys flying over. You could see the quarterback PTSD kicking in, but I want that for soccer. I don't understand how it's that hard to get that for soccer. They do it in other places. I want them to do it here.
Yeah.
And I don't think Alexi and Taylor Twelman. I have
Nope.
look. Taylor's another one with he had one good moment with an honest, earnest reaction to not qualifying for the World Cup. With the what are we doing here? The problem is the engagement went through the roof, and as a result, somebody I'm sure came to him and said, "We need more of that."
Lay into that.
Yeah, and the problem is that you only have so much of that in the reservoir before you have to start baking it. And I think that's where they are now.
Jarrett, before you turn into a pumpkin, what was your question that you had for Nick about Catenaccio?
So, Nick, you want to explain the difference between the Catenaccio and maybe what Morocco was doing yesterday? Because I feel like it'd be really easy to fall into that discussion.
Well, it's anytime people see a defense that is largely, behind the half line,
yes,
and defending with religious intensity, they say Catenaccio. Catenaccio is actually, in its original form, think total football, but for defense. Meaning that where total football for the Dutch style was a center back could function as a forward just as well as a center back, and a winger could function as a center back or a forward, or anywhere on the field you could swap positions. It doesn't matter. The player can play the position and play it well, and they know those roles inside and out. It's the exact same thing for Catenaccio. And you had there was a beauty to it because you could rotate for stopper, sweeper, outside think of it like an offset 3-5-2 in a way, but you could have somebody who could swap all around. Now, there may be one position, such as the playmaker, who's not going to be a part of that fluid rotation. They're going to be almost like the fulcrum that stays in and helps facilitate the transition play. But what you saw out of Morocco was clean, religious intensity defending. And that is very different than a structural system that is built a particular way to operate a particular way. And I thought what Morocco did was beautiful. I loved every minute of it. I'm sorry if you guys don't like that, but there are people out there who like 1-0 pitching duels in baseball. This to me was that. And so you didn't this was more of the Giovanni Trapattoni interpretation of Catenaccio, which I think everyone hated more so than the Helenio Herrera with the Grande Inter sides that actually led the league in scoring with Catenaccio. If you do it right, if you do it to its original principles, it can be a very high-scoring system. But over time, it got bastardized by some of the old school Italian managers who looked at a 0-0 game as a beautiful thing.
Yes.
So from a systemic standpoint, it's not Catenaccio. It's going to be called Catenaccio, but to me, it was very clean, honest, hardworking, bat blank defense, and I thought it was beautiful, and I completely salute their tactics, and I really hope they get to the next round, because if they do, then I believe I read somewhere that Africa gets 11 teams in the next World Cup, and that would really be something.
Nice. So let's see. Jared, I guess you and I will be talking on our back channels for the next couple of days.
Yes, we will. And yeah, I'm hopeful as well that we get that, because we need more geopolitical arguments in this World Cup. Because why not? Because we already had Spain playing Morocco, now potentially France and Morocco. That won't be a problem at all.
Yeah, it's going to be it's what you have with this is, it allows a lot of conversation too, right, Jared? These geopolitical conversations where it brings a lot of stuff to the forefront, whether you want it to be there or not. So
yes, and so we'll have that. So Jared, I will catch up with you, my friend, over the next couple of days and discuss the values of high school football.
That sounds good to me. We'll I don't have a dog in any of these fights for high school football. I'm just gonna watch and hope everyone has fun and stay safe.
Yes, that too. All right, so Nick is staying with us.
Yep.
Dylan has high school duties, and so he is with MSG varsity. So he's in production meetings, which sounds incredibly familiar. And I wanted to start off the 10 o'clock hour, Nick, with this news from Jeffrey Carlisle that came out a handful of minutes ago. It appears that 3GB is set, and this is the wording here. The USMNT boss Greg Berhalter weighs up Europe move amid new contract talks, according to sources. Set to begin discussions on a new contract with the U.S. Soccer Federation, sources have told the four-letter. One source acknowledged still very early in the process. Other sources have indicated Berhalter is interested in exploring European club options. Hired December 2nd, 2018. So that's the blurb from Jeff Carlisle this morning about 3GB.
That's sounds like a very good agent at work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, I've said it before. I will continue to say it. It's going to take Greg Berhalter doing something like Kanye West in order to not be offered an extension. The extension will be offered, but there are some very deep pockets now, especially, believe it or not, especially in Italy. I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe Parma trying to make a move to get up to Serie A and bringing in Berhalter and giving him time to grow. I wouldn't be shocked to see Spezia making that kind of move. As far as anything in Germany, I can't speak to Germany or the England. But there are some teams in Italy under American ownership that might be able to make that happen. I think Venezia is in a death spiral at the moment there, Coco. They have tried to go a little too hard with the metrics-based Moneyball system, and it has really, really come back to bite them. There's infrastructure issues with that team, mainly that the Pinzo is a very small stadium. They keep running into red tape on trying to build something near Marco Polo International Airport, and they don't. I don't know if there's enough juice to get that deal done. They have occupied a sweet spot as a marketing darling, but they need something very different. They need something radically different in order to succeed.
Well, first off, they need not to be relegated from Serie B.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is that once you get, and we've talked about this before, during the Halican days of SOT, that once you get relegated in Italy, there's no major parachute payments coming. You are essentially adrift, and it's a clothing brand at this point. And, I appreciate what Venezia was trying to do. I really do. And as much as we give, the old owner, the old ownership a lot of stick for, putting themselves front and center, and they really kind of had something there. They managed to get that thing back to Serie A, which is something beautiful in itself. Joe Tacopina really did a good job when you think about it and kind of look at it from 35,000 feet. But they need something very different on field. They need to get away from this metrics-based BS and get some old school guys in there who are not afraid of the youth movement and make that happen. Fabio Cannavaro's at Benevento, and if anything happens there, I might give Fabio Cannavaro a call. Fabio Grosso might give him a call, and get one of these guys in there who can who have no problem with a sort of a revolutionary mindset. But yeah, they're in big trouble. And as far as Greg goes, Greg is going to be offered the job. He's going to get a raise, and he's going to almost certainly accept it. I do not like two-cycle national team coaches. I don't. On principle, I don't like it. But I don't think that the corporate structure of U.S. soccer is going to be open to really anything else outside of a Berhalter signing. Now, if Berhalter has rabbit ears and he has heard everything that the sort of vitriol that's been coming up from the U.S. soccer fan base and says, yeah, I don't want any more of that heat, and people still think it's nepotism, and I got to the knockout rounds. I don't need this kind of energy in my life. And he goes to Europe, great. They need to start making some inroads with Vermes and kind of repairing those bridges that have been burned there, or they need to call and get Schmetzer out of Seattle. That's, I wish him luck on that. I don't think it's going to happen, but
Yeah.
But Berhalter is almost certainly going to be your manager going into 2026. 2026, in my opinion.
Well, question from Coco about Venezia specifically. When will Venezia run into FFP? Because they've spent some serious dollars, man.
I think their branding has offset a lot of that. When you look at the big picture, they haven't really spent a ton of cash, and I think that I have to get into the books on it, but financial fair play is, if not anything but selective, right? They select their targets very
It is selective
carefully.
enforcement. It is.
Yeah, it is selective enforcement. I don't believe that anyone's coming after Venezia anytime soon. Now, if Venezia went from Serie C to Serie A and Champions League within like 3 seasons, yeah.
Pony excess all over again.
Yeah, FFP's coming after them.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, because they are on the verge of possible relegation to Serie C, I don't think that's happening. And not to mention that they're not upsetting the power structure.
Yeah.
Right? They're not ruffling feathers in the upper echelons like Agnelli did with Super League. Serie A was not on the verge of extinction because of Venezia. Champions League was not on the verge of extinction because of Venezia. They very much were on the block because Agnelli and his endless pursuit for Super League. So the tax man is going to focus that energy toward problematic individuals more so than attractive fashion brands that put very beautiful people on social media wearing their gear.
When we talked about game number 1 yesterday in hour number 1, so let's go ahead and lean into match number 2 from yesterday, and the perimeter fallout that we're hearing from it. Yesterday, you had, as I sit here and look at things, Portugal put 6 on Switzerland. Switzerland just absolutely laid an egg, complete and total disappointment. You would have thought they would have answered the bell a lot better than they did, which means they really didn't. They were a plus 320 going in. Portugal's minus 106. But Portugal decided to remind everybody and just kind of wave their hand in the air and go, "Hi, this is us without CR37."
Yeah, well, I gave stick to Portugal for not starting Rafael Leao, and because as a proper Milanista, I want him featured at all times. But I sort of had a moment like in Apocalypse Now when Kurtz is talking about when they went and inoculated the village, and then the VC came in after, and he said, I felt like I was shot in the brain with a diamond bullet. It became so clear. The sheer perfection of it. And I felt like with Leao coming off the bench, running at a tired Switzerland, it was like mother of God. The perfection of it, the brutality, the absolute genius of it, that you have these tired legs and then you have Usain Bolt coming off and just absolutely wrecking shop.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that every team now has to look at. And I think it's something where you really saw the anchor removed when you lost that clogging point in the middle. When you lost that clogging focal point in the middle, there's I'm telling it how it is, and you tell it how it might be. It might be that Ronaldo has one more insane run left in him. It doesn't look that way.
No.
And so, there's a difference between, and as Outcast said, you're only funky as your last cut. And the last cut of Ronaldo has not been that great. And so Portugal, without him on the field, looked free. They looked fast. They did not look like they were burdened in any way. And if that's the Portugal we're going to get for the rest of the tournament, then it's you're looking at something that could be absolutely terrifying because they are fast, they are more than physical. If Pepe can avoid his the annual Pepe red card festival, not to mention, look, Pepe, that dude, they can say that dude's got like Dominican birth certificates or something because they say that guy is like 30 something. That dude looks like he's on an AARP ad for active seniors. I mean, that dude, he's still elevating and putting the ball in the back of the net. So good for him. But Portugal looks terrifying to me. When you have somebody like Rafael Leao coming off the bench and wrecking shop, brother, that's scary. And so now that Spain passing here, passing there, now passing airport security, we're it's anyone's tournament now. It really is. And this is what I loved about '02 after the bitterness of the Italian job there. It's anyone's tournament, and I think it's beautiful that we have that.
Pepe, by the way, is listed as being 39, and he will turn 40 on the 26th of February.
Yeah, if he's 40, I am a Sicilian fighter pilot.
Man,
I'm just telling you, that guy's 52, 53 years old. It's like coming to America. Like, how old was Joe Louis? Joe Louis is 157 years old. Like that's where we are now.
Joe Louis is 157 years old.
That was one of the all-time great scenes. But I feel like that's what we are. That's where we are with Pepe. And the difference is that Pepe can still move. He can still move.
Yes, that is not me calling you by.
That's me. I got to answer that real quick.
All right. Well, then we'll get into other stuff. Rack says, as the tournament goes on, I think the football world is starting to agree. We don't need Messi versus Ronaldo to know which player is more important to their national team. And the GOAT said what I said, but I still think it's France and Brazil in the final anyway. No, I mean, Rack, I don't think you're wrong. I know that you're looking at a lot of folks. Like I said, the way that things line up, it's going to be if chalk happens the way we think. I know a lot of folks were looking at the Brazil-Argentina semifinal on the left-hand side of the bracket. And, and you look at the Messi v. Ronaldo debate, and CR37 just comes across to me as someone who, if he doesn't get his way, meaning I'm starting and I'm out there and everything runs through me and all this kind of stuff, then he's just going to storm off. He's going to pout. And I don't need that noise. I don't need that kind of noise. Don't. And it is, and the manager for Portugal said all the right things yesterday. It's like, yeah, we talked about it. It was tactical and all these kinds of things. You have to say that. You can't just sit there and say, yeah, I bench CR37 because he's a distraction and we're better without him. You can't say that. As much as we all think it, and we all pretty much know that that's the case, you can't say that. So you have to protect your star, and you have to say what you said in that particular element. Like I said, I picked Argentina because I want the fairy tale ending. At this rate, it probably ends with Brazil in the semis, and it's Brazil coming out of the left-hand side. But, I mean, you're looking at yesterday, that second match, it was just pounding Switzerland, and it was a lot of goals early for Portugal as they worked their way through. Portugal won at a -106. And so, and Nick, I was talking about how the manager for Portugal said yesterday that it was tactical and that kind of thing. It had nothing to do with the off-the-field stuff. It was tactical. But you're the manager. You have to say those kinds of things about your star. You can't just sit there and say, yeah, we're better without him, and he can pout on the bench all he wants. We don't need him. You got to say you have to say the things publicly that you said.
Yeah, you do. You have to, your locker room is isolated, right? You're not at home. You can't, there's not a lot of quick ways out. So you have to keep the locker room unified. You have a chance for something really special here. So with the teams with any of these aging stars that have to go to the bench, you got to make the choice to win. Yep. And, you have to say the right things, because it's easy to divide a locker room with the wrong statement.
Yes.
And so to say, hey, look, this is just one of those tactical things. It's what we have to do. As long as you're unified in that across the board, shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, the fanboys go nuts. The bot patrol, anytime you mention Ronaldo or CR7 or anything on Twitter with any take, the bots and stands come flooding into the timeline. But what Rashikari said, I think we're at a turning point in the international game, where we're getting past the Messi Ronaldo window, and now getting into something that's sort of new and wild. And with Haaland, obviously barring change in nationality, in some sort of FIFA exception, we're looking at some of the best players in the game who are either going to be on lesser teams, or they're going to be on who knows where the next one's going to be coming from. But Brazil looks loaded for bear for the foreseeable future.
That they do.
Argentina, they just seem to churn out electric midfielders, like an assembly line. Italy's in big trouble. They don't seem to have a ton of answers, and I don't care what kind of progress they make between now and the next cycle. When they actually qualify, I'll say that we're doing a sort of okay, and I won't say we're doing really well until we get to the knockouts again.
Right.
England looks to be in the middle of a golden generation, but they have to overcome all the stressors and press issues. France, you never know what you're getting out of France, and that's a very French thing anyway. So, but the one thing that they all have in common, all of them, is that these managers have to make extraordinarily difficult calls with very sensitive talent, and you got to nail it. If you don't nail it, it's going to be big bad trouble for you. And so Portugal can remember when they won the Euros, Ronaldo was not on the field. He was on the sideline, right? Portugal can win without Ronaldo. That's not a problem, but they have to, part of the issue is not letting him become a divisive factor in that process. But we are at a changing of the guard, and that's going to make some very uncomfortable moments. So,
what's your parting statement this morning?
My parting statement, because I've got to get the Duchess to school, is that enjoy the tournament, what we have left. Your team may be out, but don't buy into carnival barkers. Don't buy into hot take artists. Rage generates engagement. Find other ways to be engaged outside of interragement, I guess. Yeah. Don't buy into it. Don't
buy the rage, mate.
It's rage merchants.
Yes,
it's rage merchants. Yeah. Don't buy into the rage merchants. Just enjoy it for what it is. And Atlanta United, no, it's been quiet on that front. I don't expect anything different with the new president, who's trying to kind of get the lay of the land, and
until the international window starts in January at the very earliest.
Right. So when that window opens, get ready, because MLS talent is going to be in hot demand, because the U.S. team, regardless of what you may think, performed above international expectations. MLS talent will be at a premium. Watch for the January window. It's going to be very, very exciting, and I will hope to see you all tomorrow.
Go for it. Well, no live on Thursday, Friday. So
good,
because I've got high school. I got a high school football.
Good God.
Yeah, I know. So Monday.
My God in heaven.
I know. Come back on Monday when we can talk about the round of 8.
Oh, very well. Monday then.
All right. So that's Nick Aliffi at Nick Aliffi on the Twitters, and at SOC over there, if I remember correctly. So that's Nick. So it's good to have Nick here, and we'll run through your comments, and we'll run through the news of the day, and we will run through all the other stuff that's going on. Graham Potter confirms Reece James with a knee and Wesley Fofana with a knee are being integrated back into training. Quote, Reece is not quite fully training, but he's integrating into training along with Wesley. Wesley's a little bit further behind, but not too far, end quote. So whatever integrating into training means. Coco, and this is the TV production down here, element of the show. When your national team coach loses 2-0 to a regional rival, claims his side dominated the game, derails everything with how the game needs to be covered, makes the networks feel like they can't cover in depth. They have to keep it base level. I mean, you can always – I think that there's a way to go about things journalistically when it comes to coverage. I think you can sit there, and if you and your panelists say disagree with what a manager is saying, then I think that you can get into that and sit there and say, well, okay, he said this, and if there's a way to refute it, then refute it. If there's a way to back it up, back it up. I mean, it's just the biggest thing for me is just don't rubber stamp. Just sit there, and if you can present viewpoints that can present the argument, then that's what I'm looking for. And break it down for me and talk about individual moments instead of just trying to gloss over things and sit there and say that it's just one big thing when it's moments and individuals that can turn matches. And so you can get in seriously. I think that, and this is what we try to do here with the time that we have, is that we try to have discussions and honest discussions. And we can take the time to delve into issues and topics and matches and match state and all these kinds of things because we value your intelligence and we value your opinion. The back and forth is something that we value here. And because we have the space to do it, we can go deeper and we can look at things in more of a three-dimensional approach. And so that's just what we try to do here. And that's why we have all this space every morning that we're here to do it, is so we can break things down and talk about every possible angle and talk about things so we can all, and it includes me, because I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. It's so I can be more informed, and it's so we all can sit there and take the information and work our way forward with it. So that's my perspective on things. I think that there's ways to go about things and break things down, do it in three dimensions, and not take your viewer or your listener for granted. Just because there should be no reason to dumb something down. Understand that there's a way to bring folks into the tent, and the folks that are already in the tent, I think you can have honest discussion with them. Like I said, that's just me. Yeah, I know, Coco, it would be tough to say that, but if you have folks on a panel that were to agree with the coach, and then you have folks on the panel, and not carnival barker style, but folks who both agree and disagree, and you can have earnest discussion, I think that would have value. But that's just, like I said, that's just me. Nick from been known to be on islands, even volcanic ones, that sustain his ancestral life force, but not this time. And that, Nick's is like we're talking about with Manning Cast. Frankly, I would rather have less guests. And I know that was a point that was also made in the Twitch pitch. Less guests, more Manning, because I want that frustration from Peyton. I want Eli, who is also a quarterback, I want him poking the bear of Peyton, because you know how easily frustrated he gets. But I also at the same time want them to break down the why as to what they should be doing, because Monday night, you're wasting time. It's like they wasted 20 seconds. Tampa Bay, it ended up not hurting them, but they wasted 20 seconds trying to work their way down the field. It's like, when are you going to use the timeout? Use the timeout. And we're all sitting there with them going, use the timeout, and they don't do it. They wasted 20 seconds. It didn't hurt them in the end, but it's those kinds of things that I enjoy with the Manning Cast that we're working our way through. Jared is back. Hello. And so Jared's back with us for the duration. And let's see. I'm trying to see if nope, haven't seen anything. And haven't seen anything in the rumor mill. But like I said, unless it's a signing, and we can get into the MLS stuff here coming up in just a little bit, that you might see a signing here or there of a free agent. But really, when the window opens in January, that's what I'm anticipating. And also, you're in the holiday season. And so maybe you're kind of kicking the tires on folks, and Garth Lagerwey might be finally getting his key card to work, and aim the key card in the right place to make sure it triggers the door, those kinds of things. But no, I would anticipate business would pick up probably after the first of the year when the window opens up in January. Let's see. Yeah, if you want frustration, put the Browns and the Broncos. Man, Broncos are bad, and this is somebody. And I have Cortland Sutton on my fantasy team, and I'm
That's your
keeping.
fault.
It is, because I thought that when you brought in Russell Wilson, you'd sit there and it'd be like, hey, you've got a quality quarterback who's now apparently doing toe touchies and stretchies in the aisles of charter jets, going back from games to try to stay limber. Maybe, I don't know. It's just a very odd situation. But yeah, Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton really is not helping me this year, and he really got me to a title last year.
What's it like to win a title? Because I haven't done that in years.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that I did it the 2 years out of the last 3 that I had done it, because this year I have 5 players on IR, and 2 of them are Dallas Goedert and Cooper Kupp. So I will not make the playoffs this year. But Cooper Kupp, because he got the Triple Crown last year, that's what got me the title. I mean, legitimately. And people were sitting there and they're wondering, it's like, okay, wow, you've made history. You're the first person not to draft a quarterback number 1 overall and win the league, because I won it the year that Christian McCaffrey went nuts. And I had him.
I never draft a quarterback first in my draft.
No.
It's always a pass catching. It's always like a Christian McCaffrey, someone who is going to load up on as many points as possible.
Yeah. And I mean, so for me, when I drafted Christian McCaffrey, when I was 3rd, I didn't pick Derrick Henry. I picked Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey got me a title. And then last year when I had Cooper Kupp got the Triple Crown of receptions, yards, and touchdowns. That got me a championship. I just got into the playoffs as the 6th and got hot and made it in and won a title this year. And this is a thing. All right. So Coco
What's the thing?
Well, first off, Coco with a question: will Russell Wilson throw more TDs than he has bathrooms in his house? Big money on bathrooms right now.
Man. 12 the worst part about the Broncos is the Broncos, like, they haven't given. I don't think they've given up more than like 19 points in a game.
Yeah.
So, like, if they had even a halfway functioning offense,
yep,
they would be in contention for the number 1 seed.
Oh yeah.
It is staggering.
Yeah.
How inept they are.
Yeah. So right now it's 12 bathrooms and 7 or 8 TDs, and so my money's on bathrooms. But it's just in our league this year, and we changed over. And before Sharif, before we go back to soccer down here, it's another wall pass comment. This year in fantasy, we changed our league from a year by year thing where you can, where you have to redraft everybody. We turned it into a keeper league, a legacy league. So you can keep up to 10 guys from your previous year's roster. And I did that. So I'm cool with that idea. But as a part of our league bylaws, you have the normal win-loss against your competition. But if you reach the league median in offensive numbers, you get either another win or another loss.
It's the weirdest league I've ever heard of.
Yeah. And I, because of the team that I have and being as injured as much as I have not met the league median. Therefore, instead of losing just 1 game, I lose 2 in a week. Because right now I'm 4 games under 500. With I think this is the last week of the regular season, so obviously I'm not making the playoffs. But just the notion of if you don't score enough points, you lose another game. And I was not a fan of this, and obviously I got voted out, from the idea. I did not make the majority opinion. And so, yeah, I'm 11-15. I'm not making the playoffs. 5 guys I've got on IR, and 2 of them got me a title last year. So, yeah, I'm hideous. And the whole idea of the keeper league I'm for, but this whole thing about adding a win or a loss if you don't score enough points, that I hate. And Coco's got a keeper league that gets 1 keeper. We can keep basically 10 guys on our roster. Jason Nix, you're probably not wrong that Russell Wilson has been replaced by an alien or a replicant.
It's full invasion of the body snatchers territory here with Russell Wilson was already a weird cat to begin with, and now he's a weird cat who's not producing well.
and getting yelled at
it's
by his
just
defense.
it's gonna get worse for him
That is
because
true.
of all of that.
Absolutely true. So, and apparently, according to Bob Nightingale, the primary reason why Aaron Judge flew to San Diego Tuesday was to meet with the Padres. They offered him 400 over 10. Judge stayed put with 360 over 9.
San Diego is throwing money around like they think the world might end the next year. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
They also threw insane money at Trey Turner,
Mm-hmm.
and he chose less money to go to Philadelphia.
So 11 for 320 or something like that.
Yeah, it was something insane.
Okay, so Sharif is Sharif's joining us here in hour 2. Yeah, they did need Judge to cover for the Tatis suspension, but Sharif is in for hour 2. No worries about coming back late. I mean, it's that's what we're here for. It's all about folks joining us at different times and circling back to things. Yes, love the Panenka from Hakimi. The Atlas Lions deserve the win celebration, and I'm not going to say Spain should have scored because Spain tried to score. Morocco masterfully shut it down. Yes, they did, and it was a fun watch. Absolutely a fun watch to see Morocco sit there and do the Three Stooges bit by the end of 120 minutes in pens and sit there and take their 2 fingers and poke them right in the eye, poke Spain right in the eye. That was fun. It was a fun watch. And if you could not appreciate what Morocco did defensively and could not appreciate what Bono did in net, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It was cool stuff to see and good. And it was good to see somebody new. Jarrett, I know that you and I were talking about the Cinderella either a day or 2 ago, and did you not have Morocco circled as that possible Cinderella?
If they could get by Spain, and they did. So, yep, just roll with it for a while. See how it goes.
Mm-hmm. So that's don't ever worry about Sharif coming in late because it's always stuff we can talk about. MLS, before we go into gossip, rumor, and innuendo, Wilfred Nancy had his press conference yesterday in Columbus. So Columbus Crew, Wilfred Nancy, that happened. So now what happens in Montreal? That's what we have to pay attention to. How do they answer the bell? And that is the big question for me. How do they answer the bell when it comes to your new head coach? And Clint Irwin, Atlanta United legend Clint Irwin, is signed with Minnesota United in free agency. And Philadelphia had a trade with Orlando with the purple team, picking up Andres Perea in a trade with Orlando City. Orlando gets up to $850,000 in GAM plus a portion of the sell-on fee, $750,000 across the next 2 seasons. Plus, they could receive an additional $100,000 in conditional GAM and a percentage of Perea's transfer fee if he is dealt. So Perea signed a new deal with the Union through 2025, team option for 26. Orlando City also signed Kyle Smith to a new deal. FC Dallas has signed Sebastian Ibeagha in free agency, going from LAFC, where he was last year, to FC Dallas through the 24 season, options for 25 and 26. 94 MLS games, 54 starts since the 2016 season. Joined them midway through the 21 season, LAFC, in a trade from New York City. He's also played for Houston. So Sebastian Ibeagha, possibly that's part of the backup for possibly losing Matt Hedges to free agency. So you've got Jose Martinez and Kosi Tafari and Ibeagha if you lose Matt Hedges and Matt Hedges does not return. So that's your free agent moves, your tracker right now in Major League Soccer. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We get into that here. Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal are interested in Yunus Musa. Keep an eye on that. And to the point that we made in the first hour, and also with Nick, keep an eye on men's national team, folks. And Jarrett, I want to mention the Carlisle news to you in just a little bit about Greg Berhalter. Barcelona tracking Gabriel Martinelli, possibly for a move in the January window. Borussia Dortmund would be willing to sell Jude Bellingham next summer for 100 to 150 million euro. PSG said that PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi says everybody wants to sign Bellingham, and the French club will go through Dortmund first if they want to make a move. CR37 is yet to make a decision regarding the move to Al Nassr, according to our friends at the Four Letter. Spurs have emerged as the favorite to sign Franck Kessie from Barcelona. David Moyes faces the sack at West Ham amid an increasingly tense relationship with club co-chair David Sullivan. James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans have been linked with leaving Leicester City, but the Foxes would be resistant to letting either player leave in January. Sorry, Knicks. Real Madrid set to beat Chelsea to the signing of Palmeiras forward Endrick, who can only move when he turns 18 in 2024. Marco Verratti will sign a new deal at PSG. Villa will be offered Yannick Vestergaard during the January window. Newcastle have been inundated with loan offers for 18-year-old Australia forward Garang Kual after his performances at the World Cup before he's officially joined the club. Magpies agreed to a £300,000 transfer with Central Coast Mariners this year. We need Bam's input on this one. With Kual set to move in January, Arsenal have not ruled out recalling Folarin Balogun from his loan spell at Stade Reims in January as they keep an eye on Gabriel Jesus. But, Jarrett, one of the stories that came out early this morning, got to talk to Nick about it. You had turned into your real-world person. Jeff Carlisle reports that Greg Berhalter set to begin discussions on a new contract with the U.S. Soccer Federation. Sources have told the Four Letter, translation probably his agent. One source acknowledged it's still very early in the process. Others indicated Berhalter is interested in exploring European club options. So that's where we are.
Okay, whatever. I had a feeling this was coming. This is my Freddie Freeman moment. I had a feeling Freddie Freeman wouldn't be back with the Braves, and I had already kind of prepared myself for that reality. Didn't mean I necessarily wanted that to be the case, just what I had prepared for. I had a feeling that Greg Berhalter would be negotiating a new contract, not because that's what I wanted to happen, because I just had a feeling that's what would happen. Again, I am very much a one cycle per coach sort of person. I don't know, and I do appreciate what Greg has done, but I don't necessarily want to give another cycle. I don't know who the next guy would be.
Right.
I know we went through names. People gave their opinions on names.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. We'll see.
Yes.
Because if he decides like, hey, I'm gonna go, like I got offers to coach in Europe, I'm gonna go take those, then you can take the decision out of U.S. Soccer's hands. But
yes.
It's not surprising. I guess like we talked about, there is these guys playing at these big clubs, playing in these unique situations that we haven't seen with American stars as consistently in the past. I think has led to guys, the way the effectiveness of the way they play. I think Greg does have some impact on that on the national team side, and I think he has learned how to be a national team manager as well. Because I think that was something he had to learn how to do, to not run it like a club.
Yeah.
I think he has gone through that process of learning it. All of that being said, I don't necessarily love the idea of giving him another cycle. It feels like you are choosing the easiest option in the same way that hiring him was your easiest option. I don't love it.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, hiring him probably would have gone over a little bit better had you not been having such an easy connection to potential nepotism because the damn brother was part of U.S. Soccer. U.S. Soccer remains completely tone deaf to their own optics, but at this point, that's a feature, not a bug.
Yes. Looking at viewing stuff today, because there's nothing going on in the World Tournaments, ESPN Plus has Tenerife and Alaves at 250. They've got FA Cup at 240, Stockport County and Charlton Athletic. And Byrne reminds us that on the off day of the World Tournament, Women's Champions League today, Bayern-Barca, 3 o'clock, big stadium game on YouTube. So you have 2 games at 12:45, Rosengard, Benfica, Lyon, and Zurich. 3 o'clock, Arsenal, Juve, Bayern, and Barca. And so getting into the juice boxes for that, Lyon, massive favorite at a minus 5,000. Benfica's at a plus 100. Rosengard is a plus 213. Those are at 12:45. At 3 o'clock, Arsenal favored over Juve at a minus 233. Barca is a minus 455 going up against Barca. That's at 3 o'clock. You've got lower division stuff in some of the European countries. Copa Costa Rica is going on with our friends at Saprissa, late night at a minus 108. Guatemalan league's going on. Nicaragua with our friends at Real Esteli. They're favored on the road at Managua FC. But you've got Portugal and Spain, lower divisions. FA Cup is going on. So there's stuff going on today that is all across the board. Your lone FA Cup match, though, Stockport County and Charlton Athletics. Stockport County at home is a plus 114. So, Jared, if you would please send us home for Wall Pass Wednesday. Is there anything else on your mind that has been left on the table so far?
Only to say much platio.
What he said, because it's the end of the show. You know what? That means we get to do this. Tape stuff for the next couple of days. We'll be back live on Monday to talk about the round of 8 and the Final Four. So play it safe, everybody. Be safe. Enjoy the sport that we all talk about on a daily basis, and we'll catch up with you soon. Stay tuned. And I got to hit the outro, not the intro, John. This button.